It's now time for us to move through the agri sector, and specifically we're talking about the poultry industry, as the poultry industry faces an imminent collapse in the next 10 years due to the reduction in domestic consumption and inadequate investment into the sector. Well, currently the local consumption of poultry is below 20% a year, which is gradually collapsing the industry. We'll also be getting you more details as the country imports about 90% of poultry products from the European market, while the local industry is also looking at about 50% of the poultry products, including egg. However, marketability remains a challenge. In year 2011, production of hatching eggs was 346, around 110, and reduced to 306,765 in year 2012. Already 80% of poultry producers are smallholder farmers who use outmoded farm tools, while only 20% are into commercial production. Well, joining me in the studios is the Executive Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers, Kwame Koko. Thank you very much for joining us in the studios, Kwame. We're excited to have you. The poultry industry has had its challenges for some time now. Now, I want to know, from your point of view, I mean, if you've engaged government enough around this time to be able to address some of these major challenges facing the industry. High reduction in the consumption of some poultry products, especially eggs.
Thank you very much, Kweku, and good afternoon to viewers. A little bit of clarifications, but statistics that you gave, especially the 80%, is actually for local production of eggs, and that is what is coming from the traditional sources.
Of course, so I make the clarification, right, that especially with eggs.
Yes. Now, the question that you're posing, yes, we are engaging government in discussing the challenges that confront the poultry industry, and specifically talking about eggs. We have engaged the Minister of Agriculture just last week, Friday, to bring this issue to his desk and telling him that if he could lead the association to access the school feeding program market, that would be very helpful. In addition to that, we also mentioned to him that the secondary schools could also be a source of consumption of eggs.
So you're looking for that ready market. I mean, if through the educational institutions, if government could be the major buyer, it will create that buoyance for the poultry.
Absolutely. I mean, it will be a big impetus on for us. And why won't we go for it? It's already existing. We're not talking only of educational institutions. We are all talking generally about all the institutions that are fed by government. So you talk about hospitals, you talk about the security agencies. These are all the prison services. These are all good markets for us. And then, we also spoke with the Ministry of Health a couple of weeks back on the issue of misinformation that people are putting in the public domain about eggs and human health. We are asking that this must be curtailed, because right now,
of course, we know, I mean, it's common knowledge that, hey, you take too much egg, your cholesterol level will build up, and you are on your way to,
With those technical issues, I cannot address here. But what I can tell you is that at least we have, in the discussions that we've had with the Minister of Health, we are now aware that, yes, eggs contain cholesterol, but what kind of cholesterol is it? Is what the people who bandy this information around don't tell the consumers, But as I told you, I am not the right person to address it. We have nutritionists who are assisting us to put this information into the public and to disabuse the minds of Ghanaians that eggs are not as dangerous as they have been made to believe.
Let me take you back to something that came up in the public some time ago, and that was about feed. I mean, even it came down to the color of the eggs, and we're not getting enough yellow corn to be able to feed the poultry industry. Of course, we had the challenge. Government decided to come in and assist with the situation. But how bad is feeding for poultry in Ghana now, such that you've been able to try in your own way to resolve?
The feed situation is not at risk. Now, what happens is that we tend to have an agricultural production system, especially with grains and other crops, which are heavily rain dependent. There is really no massive irrigation to ensure all year round production. So in a year that we have bad weather, the grain production goes down, maize production reduces, prices go up like that, and then it goes to affect the cost of feed, in the sense that if you take a kilo of feed, the maize component in that is about 60%, you know. So if you have a product, the component which is the largest component of your final product, and the price is not stable, then clearly it disturbs the budget for the farmer, which
of course is passed on to the final consumer with the bed that you finally buy. But another major challenge, I mean, you've always had the opportunity to criticize imports, I mean, unfair competition and the like, but in one breath you criticize them, in another breath you move there to buy day-old chicks. True or false?
Before I address that, let me say that it is not true that we are able to easily pass on the cost of production to the consumer. It is not so easy, and that is why the farms are running at losses. Okay. To address the issue of importation of day-old chicks.
Yes. Now, in one breath, you condemn them.
Absolutely, that is right.
And then in the other breath, you pass back and meet them. Yes. Bring us day-old chicks.
That is why
I am not being hypocritical.
From the beginning that we are engaging government in discussions. But let me explain. Your final product is as good as your day-old chick. Now, if I should go to a local hatchery to buy a day-old chick that is not good to give me the yield that I expect, given that quality of feed is good and farm management is right, why would I go back to that hatchery again? So the engagement that we are having with government is taking a look at the whole value chain of the poultry industry, which includes, first of all, the input producers, which is the maize, the soya, the day-old chicks.
Are local farmers doing anything about it with the hatcheries also? Is that consultative meetings?
There is. In fact, as we speak now, there's a meeting going on in Kumasi between the poultry farmers and the hatcheries in Kumasi, because we've made this case very clear to them. And they are also worried because they've invested in facilities. They want the petrol, and their market is us. And if we are not buying from them,
then
their businesses are collapsing. So we could now, they are open, we are engaging them, but there's a role government has to play. Why I say this is that Ministry of Agriculture is the one that has the veterinary officers which controls them. And so we expect the engagement that we are having with the hatcheries is that they should open up to the veterinary officers so that they can inspect and ensure that
Kwame,
at the end of the day, wait a minute.
Kwame Kokoro, I can say a big thank you. I'm being hit by time. So I sincerely appreciate. Poultry challenges will go on and on and on. Maybe in 30 seconds, you can just round it up, please.
What I have to say to the Ghanaian public is that yes, the industry is facing challenges, but there are huge opportunities, and that is why when you go to places like Domain, go to Kumasi, and even Accra here, people are investing in the industry and in massive way. But what we are saying is that the market should be created for us. And we say market should be created because government has control over a certain chunk that if we get from the start, it will help us.
Kwame Kokoro, many thanks for joining us. We sincerely appreciate you coming to address some of the challenges facing the poultry industry.